Hey guys, Robert here from Oasis Custom Firearms. Today I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about the Kriss Vector and the barrel thread modifications that we're doing here with Oasis Custom Firearms. And customers seem to like it, and we've got a really good stable process for the modification. So this gentleman here, if you've ever wanted anything like this guy does, he came in and said, hey, I want the front of my barrel threaded so that I can fit it with a muzzle brake or fit it with a suppressor later on. So as a gunsmith, the first thing I noticed that might be an issue, which you guys probably have been told in the past, is that threading the barrel, there's a couple issues. One, threading the barrel and getting it in the lathe. So the Kriss Vector, this is a 45 ACP. The Kriss Vector is pretty easy to get apart for the most part, with the exception of the barrel trunnion. The problem here is that these are historically put on, they've got a reputation for being put on so tight that it's nearly impossible to get them on and off. I can get it off, it can come off. It is press fit on, just like an AK trunnion, but it is incredibly tight fit. So I don't know if they're heating things up when they're putting them on or not, but congratulations to Kriss Vector for putting it on so well. Even if you do get it off, I could take this off if I wanted to, a little bit of work there. But the problem is really getting it back on. If I press this back on, being that it's such a tight fit, I really don't want to face the issues of making sure all of the holes are lined up. These are drilled out and pinned just like AK-47s are. But the issue here, there's two main issues. The main issue is that the trunnion needs to come off in order to be able to fit the barrel into the lathe in order to be able to thread. This is too short to stick out the rear side of my lathe, and traditional lathes. And this is, you'd need well over a 2.5 inch through bore on your lathe in order to be able to fit the trunnion in there. So not wanting to take the trunnion off and wanting to avoid that whole issue, which is a major headache. I'd rather spend the time to figure out how to do it without using the lathe. So problem number one, I can't get it into the lathe in order to thread it. Problem number two is the handguard goes on. There's a set screw back here that holds the rear part. The receiver stops right here. If you notice, the barrel is pretty much flush. Once you get this in, this slides into the front of the handguard. This is a handguard front plate here. Once this slides in, your barrel's pretty much flush and even just a little recessed from the front of the handguard. So because of that, even if you did get this threaded, you have to solve the issue of being able to get the muzzle brake or the suppressor inside of the handguard. The issue with this is even if you were to bore this out for a muzzle brake, it's got to stick out far enough so that the muzzle blast doesn't blow the handguard apart. And two, it's not centered in the handguard. It's on the lower side of the handguard. So if you bore this out, you'll never get it bored out big enough for a suppressor or even a suppressor adapter. So we need to get, really the answer to this is we need to get the barrel out farther. Now you can take this down, you can thread the barrel if you can get it into a lathe. If you want to deal with the trunnion, you can take the end caps off, which those are put on with rivets. You have to drill that rivet out, and then you have to go in from the opposite side and tap it out. So they've got these things coated really, it looks like blue Loctite. They got them coated really good. You can actually see a lot of the residue still on the inside of here. So they're kind of glued and then riveted in. What I did is I actually drilled it out here, and then I plan to put it back on, so I threaded everything. I threaded it all the way through here and into here, and I went large with it. I went with a 1032. Oh no, I'm sorry. I went with an 832 thread in order to hold that back on. So you can take the one of the end plates off and you can cut it down. Of course, you're probably going to get into the logo here, so you'd have to come back and do this. And this one is this is an angled plate, but it's a straight cut, so you can come in here and cut it down if you can get it flush, nice and straight, and then shorten everything and bring that handguard back and open up the front in order to be able to open up your threads. So that's if you can get this into a lathe, thread it, cut the handguard short, and you're good to go from there. So we took a different route here at Oasis Custom Firearms. We left everything the way it is, the way Kriss Vector made it. Well, our answer to this was a press fit barrel sleeve. So if you notice the front of the barrel is stepped down here. And so what we did is created a barrel sleeve. This barrel sleeve has the 0.578 by 28 thread for 45 ACP. And what we did is we created the barrel sleeve to press fit on. You can see the inside of the barrel sleeve is stepped down exactly the way the front of the barrel is here. Made to fit exact. This bore here is just slightly larger than the bore here so that there's no interference by the barrel sleeve on the bullet coming through. No disruption, doesn't mess with trajectory or velocity or anything. Now, not only is it press fit in order to keep it from coming off, but we also created set screws in order to be able to hold it on, just in case. So the top of the barrel here is milled. It's not drilled. See if I can get it to focus in. It's milled, it's not drilled. So those are flat bottom holes that are the exact size for the set screws that fit into here. Those set screws are low profile set screws. And when I install this, these set screws will be trimmed to height so that they're flush with the outside of the barrel sleeve, yet they're retaining the barrel sleeve's position on the barrel by going into these recesses. Now this recess is only put in as deep as this step here. So the integrity of the barrel is not weakened. The thickness of the barrel between the bottom of that recess and the bore is the same thickness as the front of the barrel here. This is made just a little bit longer, so once it goes on, it will actually stick. There we go. That's all lined up. It'll actually stick out just past the front of the handguard plate, the forward plate, about that much. So a little bit of tolerance, a little bit of room there. And then this is threaded for 45 ACP. Now, we also modify the front plate. The front plate is milled out. By the way, all of this is done with CNC. None of it is literally done by hand. It's all done by CNC, so everything is exact and perfect. And this is milled out to just a little bit larger than the barrel sleeve so that there's no interference. Now, one thing we did get rid of, though, is the front barrel O-ring. It actually went inside of the front plate here, and it touched and rubbed the barrel in order to kind of keep everything stable at the other end. This right here will allow any kind of flex from the barrel when you're firing or any kind of movement from there not to be obscured or, disrupted. It's not held tight by this. It is a little loose, but it is just a few thousandths larger in order to allow any kind of free movement. But it is close enough to where, see if I get a top shot, it is close enough to where it will retain the stability of the handguard to where the handguard's not moving on you. So we eliminated the O-ring. So this is press fit on. It's lined up with the barrel recesses here. We fit the retaining screw, which is both top and bottom. Once that's put into position, then everything will go back together. The front plate will go on. And then, like I said, we fit everything on with this front plate, pressed it back into position, and then started our thread. So not only is the plate thread, but it's also threaded all the way into the, actually the handguard's threaded and the plate is threaded. So everything fits nice and tight together when it's all done. And we have the original Kriss Vector with no modifications to the handguard, no cutting down, no anything, and a barrel sleeve that can be removed if need be down the line. Also, the screw that I put in here is a button head screw. So the button head screw is going to stay kind of in conjunction with the style of the rivets that Kriss Vector's already got in their firearm. So anyway, this is Oasis Custom Firearms, just kind of talking about the Kriss Vector barrel thread modifications that we're doing here and the success that we're having with them. So if you need it done, give us a holler.